This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. The Ohio Soybean Council going to be hosting some very important guests at farms across the state with the goal of creating additional trade business with customers from around the globe and in turn adding more value to Ohio soybeans. Joining us on the podcast this week from the Ohio Soybean Council, Maddie Corby, Manager of Demand and Market Development. Maddie, always great to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ty.
As a farm broadcaster in another life, I went on a few of these farm visits with trade teams from across the world. Which groups are visiting Ohio? Where are they coming from?
Yeah, so we've got a handful of teams actually coming in the next 2 months, but coming up these next couple of weeks, we have a Japan soy food team, and then we also have a Greater China soy food team. Later in the season, we've got an EU sustainability team. And then after that, we have a Korea soy food team. So definitely a little mix of different countries, but we tend to have a lot of soy food teams here in the state, dominantly because we are very highly sought after in terms of specialty soybeans, in terms of protein content, mostly for the tofu market.
I mentioned you're going to be all over the state with different soybean farmers and these trade groups. What are you hoping to show them during their visits? Where are they going to be visiting and what are they going to see?
So a really unique thing about Ohio and what's very beneficial is we have anywhere from 4 to 5 specialty in particular exporters. So we will be going out to Schooler, which is just north of Dayton. We have KG Agri-Products, which is located in Marysville, Bluegrass Farms of Ohio, which is down in Jeffersonville, and then a couple of others here in the state. But those are going to be the 3 main ones, industry exporters that we're visiting. The idea is just to kind of show them what seed traits are available through each company, how each company operates, maybe learn a little bit more about logistics. And then we will also be sending them to a farmer here that actually is on our Ohio Soybean Council Board of Trustees. It's David Black. He grows for KG Agri-Products, several acres of non-GMO soybeans. The idea behind a farm visit is to really build those relationships between farmers and buyers, just learning a little bit more about the production of soybeans here in Ohio really helps strengthen the bond between seeing where a product is coming from and marketing it, not just from our soybean, like by our Ohio soybeans, but also with the buyers selling it to their end users. So being able to communicate, like, I've seen these beans that were grown in the States, this is what we're using in our product. And it really builds that relationship there.
Over the past couple of years, we have had a trade deficit. So we're bringing in more products than we're shipping out. Having these customers, if you will, from other parts of the world come to visit Ohio farms can really help pave the way for some new market development.
Absolutely. I think just the bond that's strengthened there, really seeing how farmers here in the US are doing what they can to meet our customers' needs is very beneficial on both ends, because we really show that we take that extra effort to make sure that we're supplying what they need and really just meeting those market demands. And these specialty markets really do help our farmers find those niche areas. Where are these areas not being met, and how can we really move into them and benefit and make that new market happen?
You mentioned that word benefit, and I want to talk about that because the Ohio Soybean Council does use checkoff dollars to find those new markets and new demands for soybeans. How will this OSC investment turn into maybe a big impact for soybean demand and in turn value down the road?
Absolutely. Yeah. So just investing in these new markets. So we talk a lot about, obviously, I said these soy food markets, that's very specialty. That creates new premiums for farmers that they can enter into with that IP behind things, or the containerized shipment, there comes with a premium. So getting a little bit more than that baseline dollar is something that we find very valuable to our farmers. If we're investing in these new markets, these are going to be new opportunities for premiums on their end. Kind of outside of the soy food area, we as a checkoff are investing in new and emerging markets to kind of differentiate where we're going, to kind of spread all of our eggs out and find these new markets that are going to be growing in the next several years. Population is just continuing to boom. So where can we find and meet that protein demand with our soybeans?
The one thing I was always fascinated about is they're coming from thousands of miles away, other parts of the world, to learn about American agriculture. Your farm has been a host to these trade teams there with you and your dad, but the farmers here in Ohio learn so much too by talking with these trade teams, and really moves the conversation in a direction that many farmers wouldn't even think about.
Oh, absolutely. I think that really helps influence sometimes like planning decisions. They're like, oh, this group that is coming, they're looking for a very high protein, maybe a larger size bean that has a white hilum. I'd like to be a part of that market. I've built the relationship with them. I'd like to continue working with them and try to continue to harness the future of this market for Ohio soybean farmers.
Maddie Corby is Manager of Demand and Market Development for the Ohio Soybean Council, putting together these farm tours with trade teams from all across the world. Maddie, great to see you. Thanks for the information, and I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Sometimes out here, you have to speak loudly.
Our voice alone may not have as much impact as we would like, but my voice
can be heard and influential through membership in Ohio Farm Bureau.
My voice, along with tens of thousands of Ohioans,
makes a difference when it comes to legislation, regulation, or litigation that can be positive or potentially harmful to those of us in the agriculture community.
Become a member today at ohiofarmbureau.org.
Because there is strength and members.
Find out how Nationwide Agribusiness can help you grow your business. Get to know the people with the experience and knowledge to help you. Whether you are looking to protect your farm or ranch from the ground up, or need someone who understands your changing commercial ag needs. Find out how to better manage the risks of your ag business, or how quickly you can get back to business. Learn how you can protect your next with Nationwide on your side.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. In recent years, more farmers and agribusiness owners are forming limited liability companies, or LLCs. The shift is due to the growing complexity of farm operations and the need for increased liability protection. We have an expert on the matter joining us this week, Steve Hamilton, a consultant with Nationwide Advanced Consulting Group, our guest on the podcast. Steve, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and those that are watching on the podcast.
Always like to start at square one. So for those who don't know, what is an LLC?
Well, they were created by state law and they're governed by state law. So sometimes people think that they are their own separate tax entity. They aren't. But typically they're going to be taxed like a partnership, which is why they were set up, was to help people involved in partnership arrangements to also have the liability protection of a corporation. So that's the main reason why they were set up. And I just want to make sure people understand they could even be taxed as C or S corporations, though that's less common.
We mentioned that we're seeing more and more farmers and farm families and agribusinesses take this route. What are the benefits of forming an LLC on the farm?
Well, I mentioned the limited liability protection, and that's a very important piece, especially when you own land and you have big machinery. And things can happen. If you have livestock, things can happen. But what I will say about it is the first line of protection should be liability insurance. That's the first thing you should have, no matter how you're operating your business, because that way the insurance company is there to help provide some defense in your case. But liability protection is obviously an important thing. So flexible management is another one. The ability to set up an operating structure that fits that business's situation, the families, and also then the pass-through taxation, which makes it a little bit easier because the income, as long as it's being taxed like a partnership, will flow through to those members proportionate to their ownership. It also has some estate planning advantages because you can divide up membership or units between people. That's typically going to be easier than trying to divide up pieces of ground or to divide up machinery or the operating entity in some way. But that way you can kind of keep it all together and under one management. And that helps a lot.
There is another side of the coin, downsides to consider when looking into an LLC. What are those?
Well, there's a cost for setting them up, and that's going to probably involve an attorney. And at some point, it's probably going to involve an accountant to help run it, to help take care of the taxes, to make sure the books are being kept the right way. It's going to take, what I say, a little more formality and effort on people to do it, because they have to make sure they understand that this is a business entity and you need to treat it that way. And you keep your personal stuff, your personal stuff. So one of the risks I see is that sometimes, especially in family businesses, and I've seen in my own life, my own situations, where those things start getting blended together. And if that happens too much, the LLC protection that it provides for liability may actually be gone. So you need to make sure you abide by those formalities. Like I say, you're going to have filing fees, the attorneys, you're going to probably have accountants involved, and it's just more structured. And you need to consider if that's something that you can handle if you're going to set one up.
Through talking about the benefits and the downsides, boy, I tell you, you can't really dodge the complexities of forming an LLC. So what's the bottom line takeaway you would like listeners to know as they think about this option?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, as businesses evolve and they face new challenges, being adaptable and flexible is one thing that an LLC can offer in a structure, because it's easier to get out of typically than other entities, and provides liability protection, another layer there as well, as we see more and more people concerned about getting sued and what could happen. But as we talked about or referenced, I think earlier, is that, it's important that they talk to their attorney, their accountant, their financial advisors, get the people involved there to help provide direction, because it's not just a matter of setting it up and forgetting it. It's a matter of setting up and continuing to use it in the future properly, and making sure it accomplishes, your goals that are there for your family and for your business.
Steve Hamilton, a consultant with Nationwide Advanced Consulting Group. He wrote a piece for Nationwide. We'll put a link to that article on the description of this Ohio Farm Bureau podcast at ohiofarmbureau.org. Steve, thank you so much for the information. Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Wish you the best.